Hi, I'm Brian. Welcome to my hobby space. It's been a while, but I'm coming back to my Mega-Gargant project. I've got the Mausoleum set from the Mortal Realms magazine, and I never used these bases. I use the buildings, but I don't use the bases. So I'm going to use this as the base for my Mega-Gargant. I recently finished making the Ogre Mod Tribe's Beastclaw Raiders Start Collecting box. This is a great box. It's also a great box if you need extra bits. I made this butcher using pieces that were all extra bits. And there's still extra bits to spare. This is a gut plate for an ogre. I'm going to use this as an elbow protector. So let's put that on real quick. I think that's going to look nice. The other day off camera I took a little piece of plastic and I melted it slightly using a lighter and just kind of bent it, and it's now here holding on that shield on his wrist. And I'm going to glue his stomach on finally. As this modeling clay has dried over the past month, shrunk a little bit. Did most of the shrinking the first couple of days and hasn't shrunk since then. But there's a gap, so I'm going to fill that up using my extra thin cement and melted sprues. Really can't say how much I like this stuff. I mean, I use it all the time. From fixing little cracks and crevices when you put your models together, to kit bashing. Wonderful stuff to have laying around. The gaps around his big fat tummy are also filled in nicely. Now for the meat and potatoes of this video. And so to do that, I'm going to take this chain, I'm going to glue it on first. Just going to wrap it around, put a little glue up, wrap it, glue it, wrap and glue. And cut it off and then put this on here. Once that's dry, I'll wrap it around, add a little more glue, and repeat a few times. That'll be about right. Let's just drizzle glue over the whole thing. Glue, glue, glue. I'm just putting glue everywhere. What a mess. Let's check the glue and see if it's dried. Dry, so it's safe to cut. I started it and I finished it in the same spot. And they're going to be holding on this knee protector. The fun part about doing all this kit bashing and stuff, for me, it's just getting to use all these extra fun parts. I'll do the same for the other side. The chains and the knee pads came out okay. I think now he's ready to go kick some butt. I put some kite string on his right arm, the same as I did his left arm, and I washed it down with some PVA glue, and I let that sit for 24 hours. This is a Thunder Tusk faceplate, but I'm going to put it on here so it looks like a weaponized arm piece. I'm going to hold it on with a strap. Here I'm just going to glue it on. I got it where I want it. I'm going to melt this strap from the Chaos Chariot, and I'm going to put that on. I would recommend cutting up an old sprue tree and practicing before you do it with the final piece though. It is a little tricky and it's a little stinky, so don't forget to open your window while you're at it. So what I'd like to do next is add this chain mail from a Chaos Lord on Manticore. Since they're both hanging, I think it'll tie the new pieces and the old pieces together really well and keep the whole model looking like one unified, coherent piece in the AOS universe. It's also got some really cool skulls on it. I think adding that bit will really tie the belt and the sash and all the chains on his body together in one coherent piece. Ooh, this brings me to my last big dilemma. I want to use this big horn as his weapon. So I got his fingers here. I got to fit this in there somehow. It's too big and it won't fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this. I'll glue it on top. I'll take the bottom half that's been cut, and I'll glue it on the bottom. That'll leave me a little gap in here behind his fingers. I'm going to fill that in, you guessed it, using Tamiya Extra Thin. Clippers would work, but I think they'll leave like too much damage on the other half. So I'm just going to cut with razor blade. I know razor blades aren't really meant for this kind of cutting. They're meant for slicing. If I go nice and slow and steady, I should be able to cut through. The cut went most of the way through, and I did the last little bit using my nippers. And I'll just clean that up a little bit and glue that onto his hand. I'll put the bottom half down here. I'll use the top half up here. I think it's going to look like a pretty nifty, powerful weapon. Now for this process, I'm just going to check and cut off some extra. Alright, so that's going to hold right there. I'll glue it on. I'm going to have to say this is one of the steps that I was most worried about. I don't know why. I was just really worried about getting his weapon right. You know, when it comes to Age of Sigmar, it should be mostly a melee game. A little bit of shooting is okay, but... So I like these big cool melee weapons. And I think he's going to be able to do some butt kicking with that. Alright, before I put this bottom piece on, I'm going to fill up inside his hand with the sprue goo so I get a good solid connection. I'm going to fill in here in his hand. Just going to let that sit and drip down until it hardens, and it'll harden with this and kind of make a core going through here. So I took an old piece of sprue and trimmed it down, and I jammed it in there. And when I put the bottom, I'll snip off the bottom of this once it's secured, and then this and the bottom piece can all be really secure and held together nicely. Okay, do it this way, it should be flush with the bottom of his hand. Ouch, that just shot on my finger. I might take off a little bit of his hand here, and that doesn't bother me. I want to get a nice good flat surface. If you've got any questions about anything that's been done on this video so far, or any of the previous videos, feel free to put it in the comments down below. I always read the comments, and I love getting them. Okay. The sprue and cement mixture is dry on his hands, so I'm just going to take my razor blade and just kind of clean it up, any mess that I might have. I wanted to put a piece of armor on his back. I had this extra piece from the Mausoleum set, and I still had a little bit of chain left over, so I'm just going to strap that on. I used some of this crazy glue for metal, and I'm going to glue it on right now. Kind of got it how I like it, so I'm just going to dabble some glue on the shoulders. Let's turn them around, put some on his front. I don't think I have to glue the whole thing, but I want to get enough connections so that it stays firmly on. Then I'll go back and I'll check it. In any spots that wiggle, I'll tighten up a little bit with glue. I'm really happy with the progress that I've made this week. I got his stomach put on. I had the strap to his shield on his left arm. I wrapped his right arm, gave it some armor, and put a strap on that as well. Gave him his weapon. I modified his belt with some chains. Gave him armor on his knees. And he got armor on his back. And on this elbow as well. I'm really glad that I started this project, and I'm really liking how it's coming along. I think I got a lot of work done this week, and I'm pretty happy with myself. It looks a little funky right now, but once he gets a coat of primer, he's going to look just fine. I hope everyone's been enjoying hanging out and working on this project with me. Recently it's hard to get together with friends. At least where I live, we're still not allowed to really get together in groups to do stuff. So this is kind of one of the ways I get to share my time with friends and all of you. So I really appreciate you viewing and hanging out and watching and all the comments. Really makes it feel like a nice community. If you hit the bell notification, you won't miss out on any future videos. That'll really help me out and help the channel to grow. Stay safe, keep enjoying the hobby, and I'll see you next time.